Support this podcast at patreon.com/Kris Karl Photography Podcast. So I first came across you with a video about the Canon A1, I believe it was. And since then followed your YouTube stuff, found you on Instagram and so on. What I don't know is how it is that you actually started with photography. So what was it that made you pick up a camera for the first time?
Well, the first time, so I kind of think of myself as having two beginning points. So the first time I ever picked up a camera was when I was 16. And it was just because I don't know what it was, but there was just something, because I've always been very artistic and sort of artsy. I used to paint a lot when I was at school. And I just wanted to, just take pictures of my friends, take pictures of family holidays. And I even made like a photo book when I was 16. I mean, back in the day, on MacBooks, you could like create like a photo book, just like, So, and then I don't know, I think when I was about a year into using my camera, it broke. And I just couldn't be bothered to fix it. And years went by and it didn't pick up a camera. And then quite a few years later, I tried my hand at sort of starting my own clothing company. It didn't go as planned, but I paid for like a photo shoot, and I realized how expensive it was to get like sort of professional sort of images. I was like, you know what, I could do this myself. So that sort of prompted me to pick up the camera again, like nearly 8 years after the first time I put it down. Yeah. And since then I just become like kind of obsessed with it. Sort of just like teaching myself from scratch again. It's sort of kind of out of necessity why I picked up the camera. The first time's out of enjoyment and just trying to just record memories, and then the second time was kind of out of necessity, just to save costs. And then now it's just sort of now it's just become like a daily part of my life.
What was it that led you to start shooting film?
It was a video. So they're kind of like they're more like travel vloggers now, but when they started off, they shot a lot of film. So they're a channel called The Wild We Roam. It was ironically, it was a video talking about the Canon A1.
Oh wow!
And it was just something about, that's literally why I picked up the Canon A1 after I watched that video. And I think I watched that video, it must be about 3 years now. There was just something about the photos. I don't know what it was. It was just, I don't know, there was just so much soul in it. And then it got me like digging through like old photos of my parents. And there was something, I don't know what it was. It was just something that spoke to me. I don't know. It's, it had like this magical aura about it, like the whole process, because nowadays everything's so instantaneous. Everything is like, there's something about it that you just can't replicate with digital.
Is it like the delayed gratification?
Yeah, it's that. But I think it's also like just touching from history, seeing something so old, something that was like 40 plus years old now. And I know, just using a piece of history and like that the fact that it still works so well nowadays, like even after 40 years, that part of it was really, really appealed to me. And just like the look of it as well, like the literal physical appearance of a film camera. It sparked something in you, I feel. Because that's something I say on my channel.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry, that's something I say on my channel. Like, if like, I don't know, for me, like if the camera doesn't make you want to pick it up, then you're not going to shoot. It's not going to inspire you. And for me, like, my Canon A1 is like something that does that. And I think that's why I shoot it, because it just gets me excited just looking at it. It makes me want to go out and shoot.
No, I actually completely agree. When I used to be a musician, there was a sort of a debate between old school guitar players and the newer generation about, does it matter what a guitar looks like? And I feel like it does matter if it's something that's going to make you want to pick it up and play it, especially in like the developmental stages. And that's really important.
Course.
Do you still shoot any digital?
I do actually. So I recently picked up like the X100V. I don't know if you know much about Fuji cameras.
Yeah.
So I started off shooting the 5D, Canon 5D, and then I switched over to Fuji once I realized like I would just never take out my Canon 5D because it was just too big. Mm-hmm. And so I was looking for like a camera system that was small, like I could literally take with me anywhere. And the Fuji system was that. And so now when I shoot digital, it sort of lightens my load because I develop and scan all my film. So, if every additional roll of film I shoot is like another 2 to 3 hours of work. So I felt that, so it kind of got to a point, I was shooting so much film that I was just like, you know what? I want to keep on taking photos, but I don't want to keep, I don't want to spend 2-3 hours just to get a photo. So I've sort of, I bought a second digital camera just for stills, and because as you know, I do enjoy shooting my XT3, but it's just such a pain in the ass having to break it down because I have it all rigged up for video for my YouTube. So spending 10-20 minutes each time just to take a couple of photos is really annoying.
Right. I mean, one of the selling points, but just quickly, one of the selling points with the Fuji is kind of, it's sort of, I guess, the closest digital relationship to film in the way that it's marketed, and I think the way it's received as well by the users. I used it for a while, and I definitely felt that there was that more close connection to the film world with the Fuji than any other. What is it specifically about Fuji other than the size that you like? Do you really like the sort of ergonomics of it? Do you like the files that you get from it? What do you really enjoy?
I like the aesthetics for sure. I just love the look of the cameras, and also like, I don't know, they've managed to pack so many like features. I mean, I hate talking about gear, but like they've managed to pack so many good video features, especially in the XE3, and for such a reasonable price. And I like the fact that the film simulations. I think that's one of the sort of big selling points of them, is just that it can really speed up your workflow. Like I know so many people say it, and like me included, like you can literally just dial in your image, like how you want the image to look in camera, and then almost post that JPEG. It's almost good enough for, you're left with an image that you're happy with, that you really don't need to do any tweaking with, Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, like the classic Chrome, classic neg, Eterna. I love Eterna. Like those, like honestly, between and then the fact that you can do like tone curves in there, you can add grain. Like you basically got like a Lightroom preset built into the camera, and then you just transfer that over Wi-Fi to your phone, and then you can literally have a laptop-free workflow there.
Yeah, it's one of the funny things really about digital photography. It's gone more and more and more complicated with more and more plugins and Lightroom and the way that people go about editing stuff. There's like presets upon presets upon presets. And actually it's interesting to see a company kind of try and remove that entire stage of the process so that you can go from camera to audience pretty much straight away.
Yeah. Like I remember, I got really excited because, I just learned how to dodge and burn properly. And then I told one of my other friends, like who shoots Fuji as well. He just like, no, I literally don't do any editing. I was like, really? And I look at, and he's just like, yeah, he kind of, and it got, because he said like, yeah, I used to do all that stuff, like all this time, spend hours and hours editing a single image. And then he just decided one day to just not. And they were being received just as well. Like, and that's sort of got me thinking about editing, A lot of times when we edit, it's mainly for you, and it's like, so it's so like, it's very rare that people, oh yeah, I noticed that you did your edit in this certain way or whatever. And it's just like, if you get the image right in camera, like the amount of editing you do afterwards, I think more often than not, it kind of has like a very marginal sort of improvement in terms of how it's received.
Definitely. Since you don't like talking about gear, and I'm there with you, I'm not really a huge fan of talking about gear, generally because it always seems to be quite a competitive subject. Let's talk about film. You mentioned that you develop your own film. Is that to do with kind of wanting to have your own creative control, or is it that you just enjoy the process?
So initially, it was just to save costs, really, because I was looking, because when I got into, when I made the commitment, like I think that's something people don't really tell you, is that if you're going to shoot film, if you want to get good at shooting film, it's a commitment. And so I kind of, when I noticed, so I was trying to find how to keep costs down, and I was looking at all these different labs and like seeing how much they would cost, and there was no way around it. Like it was, developing film was just always going to cost a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Just like a single roll at like a budget friendly sort of lab is like, 10, 15 pounds. So it was initially, it was just mainly purely just to save money, because you save like 80%, by developing yourself. And then the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. And it was sort of like, it became like a time, like a little slot in my day where I could literally just forget about everything else. And it kind of, and it sounds, I hate to say it, but it becomes quite therapeutic just doing it, because I put my headphones in, and if I don't concentrate on doing the developing correctly, then I will have ruined my film. I'll ruin everything, and I'll wasted money. So it puts me in a space where I just really focus on that one thing. And for like, so yeah, and like it is really rewarding to pull out a roll, a freshly developed roll, and seeing the images actually come out the way you wanted it to.
Yeah, definitely.
Because with film, like it's, I've lost count of the number of times where something's gone wrong, completely out of my control. Like, I've shot many blank rolls, developed it, and then, expecting to see like a roll full of bangers and just see a completely blank roll. So it's just like, it's that. So it is very satisfying to do.
When it comes to you as a photographer, and it comes to when you're shooting with your A1 or you're shooting with film in general, compared to when you're shooting with digital, are you a different photographer? Do you approach what you're doing differently with film compared to digital?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, for the most part, it is quite similar, but it's been a while since I shot like digital properly. But I think I shoot basically the same, not because I sort of do it. So I'll shoot, if I'm shooting like portraits with someone, I'll shoot both. Whereas, obviously with digital, I'll make full use of the fact that I can shoot unlimited frames. So I'll probably do some burst mode. I'll take a couple of frames in burst mode. Well, obviously you can't really do that in film. But I'm not, I used to be very economical with my digital, just because I hated culling loads of photos at the end of it. But now that I shoot a lot of film, I now use digital as a way of relieving a lot of pressure that you have with film. Because when you're shooting with film, you're a lot more tentative, you're a lot more cautious. And now that I shoot with both, I've always shot with both, but now I'm more so with digital. I like to be a lot more, not reckless, but like just going for it kind of thing. And
I mean, in a general sense, what is it that makes you want to keep taking photos? What is it that's driving you to keep going out with your camera?
I don't know. It just makes me happy. Like there's something about it. I don't know. There's something about it that really taught a lot about myself. I don't know. It's just like the process of shooting with people, because I mainly shoot people, like, you know, either on the street or like in like a portrait sort of studio scenario. And I don't know, the whole process of getting to know people, you know, that I know shooting people has taught a lot by myself. It's like it's opened me up as a person, and sort of creating like that self-expression.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that I was missing a lot of for about, you know, a good portion of my life. Like I say about, I don't know, like about 5 or 6 years, I just didn't go for about 5 or 6 years, I went without creating anything sort of artistic. And I realized that, you know, at the time I didn't really think much of it. But when I then started picking up a camera and started taking images that made me happy, it filled a void. And I'm always chasing that feeling of, wow, I made something that's pleasing to look at, whether it be someone's facial expression, whether it be, I don't know, like a moment on the street, like a scene that just looked really interesting. And I'm always chasing that feeling, you know, and always chasing that, and always trying to figure out how I can, you know, one up that kind of thing. I think that's right. At the crux of it, that's why I take photos.
I mean, something I noticed with when I first started doing workshops for portrait photographers, I noticed that really you could break down portrait photographers into two types. There were people that really enjoyed the shoot, and there were people that really enjoyed the shot, if you know what I mean. There was people that enjoyed the process of taking the photo, and then there were people that didn't so much care for the process as long as it led to the photo that they wanted. Which do you think you are?
I think I'm probably a mixture of the two. The part of me, like, yeah, I do enjoy. I hate setting up. That's annoying. I hate setting up equipment. I hate setting up lights. Yeah, I hate when the shoots drag on for too long. You know,
yeah,
it's because like if I feel like I can get the shot, you know, if I've booked out a place for 3 hours and I feel like I've done it in 2.5 hours, I won't stretch out, you know, the final 30 just because I can.
100%. I'm absolutely with you on that. That's like my biggest bugbear is when you do a shoot and it just feels like, yeah, we got it. We can just cut now. We're good. Yeah. And people want to keep it going. I'm with you.
Yeah, because I've had shoots with, you know, I'll share a space with another photographer and they're just like, yeah, let's just keep going. And I'm just like, it's like, we've got the shot. Let's try something different. You know, it's like so that's me. Like if I can get the shot done in 10, then I will. I won't feel. So yeah, I'm kind of both. So like once I have the shot, once I'm happy with it, then yeah, I'm satisfied.
Let's switch gears here a little bit. Let's talk about YouTube, because I find the photographic community on YouTube to be quite an interesting one. And it seems like a lot of people arrive there for different reasons. What was it that made you want to start making YouTube videos in the first place?
So interesting fact. I don't know if many people. Well, I actually started off. So I come from a powerlifting background. So like I have two main sort of passions, interests. So like lifting, so strength training, and photography. And I found that. So I started off YouTube it was mainly like strength training videos and sort of like really informative. And I realized that there really wasn't much growth in it. Like it was a very saturated market. There really wasn't much growth. The only real growth on it was like in terms of like fitness entertainment, and that wasn't what I was about at all. Right. But simultaneously, I was also like a lot of the content that I was consuming, sort of just as much was photography and videography, and just so. And I felt like I got to a point where I was like you know what? I want to share what I've learned, because I got to a point where if I had taught, I got, I've sort of amassed enough knowledge that I felt like I wish I had this when I got started. So it kind of compelled me to share it with everyone else, because, so yeah, it was sort of like trying to fill a void where, I felt like, if I had started out, then, I wish I had this information, so that I wanted to share. And it was those videos and those sort of insights that I want to share with everyone else. So, for example, a lot, when I started off with photography, no one really explained to me how much it was going to cost, how much of a investment and commitment it was going to be, how collecting film cameras is overrated. Just things like that. And on top of that, I wanted to share and document my journey, sort of my process, because I saw very either I've been taking photos for, I feel like, a significant amount of time, but I still feel, but I've only been taking it very, very seriously for a very short amount of time. So I consider myself very much a beginner. So I thought there was some value in documenting that process of learning it, and sort of, because I feel like in photography, there's, people sort of look at a photo and think that, you're trying to figure out how do they do that? Oh, this person's so good. You sort of put people on a pedestal and think like, oh, that's so unattainable.
Right.
So I thought that, if I could sort of show my process and show that even me, even though I don't rate myself as like an incredible photographer or anything, I felt like there would be someone out there who would sort of value that, someone who's sort of learning the ropes and trying to,
no, definitely. I think, quick side note, the reason that this podcast isn't generally done with video is because there's the off chance that I'm going to have a guest that's a power lifter and they're going to make me look like a fat sack of crap. But that goes without saying. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think one of the great things about YouTube is that it's people at different steps of the ladder helping the people beneath them, which is always really fantastic. There is almost a stereotype developing, I feel like, with YouTube photographers. I feel like we went through a phase where everyone was trying to be Pete McKinnon. Everyone was trying to be that kind of like overhyped, over B-rolled, like constantly high energy. I don't know how well that goes across to a British market, because we tend to, I think, like staunch English people tend to get pissed off with people that are a bit too happy. As far as like it goes for you, do you feel like a pressure as a YouTuber to adapt your photography or your personality for what you're putting up, or are you just trying to be yourself?
I won't lie, but there have been times where I felt like, oh, should I really be posting this? Because obviously I'm trying to grow. Like I'm trying to grow my there have been times where I felt like, oh, look, I should have posted this, but I'm very aware of that, and I know that's the wrong mindset. So even if I know that this photo won't do well, I'll post it anyway, just to prove a point that, because I don't want to ever fall into that, to fall victim of being inauthentic, because I will like a photo, because I know there are plenty of photos on my Instagram account that I know won't get as many likes, whatever, but I post it anyway because I like the image, because it reminds me of it, for whatever reason I want to post it. And there's been times where there was some comments. I think it was like one of the comments on one of my videos. It really riled me up. It was like, what was it? So it was just a short video, and the person commented, I felt like you rushed this. I felt like you didn't put enough effort into it. And to be fair to this person, like it came from a good place. Like he was more like worried about the performance of the channel. He's like, oh, I just hope that you're not just trying to play the algorithm, whatever. Like he was kind of looking out for me, and initially I was very annoyed. I was like, like I'm just seeing this as like this huge channel. It's just like my scrapbook kind of thing. I don't want to have to, spend, I don't want to feel like I have to only put out really, really high quality content, that
right.
requires days and days and days of, of work. Sometimes I just want to put out something quickly just because I came across something that interests me that just didn't need to be that was just quick,
Yeah.
And but at the same time, so what I said in like the next video, I was just like, I kind of asked people why they followed me, and it was really nice. Despite that, it was really nice that there were a lot of people who still resonated with what I had to say regardless. And I think the way I then reframed that comment was like, this person wasn't trying to have a go at me. It was actually quite flashing that he cared that much enough about what I'm doing to leave that comment.
Right. Is it something where you feel like being on YouTube has helped you as a photographer? Have you become a better photographer because you've been assembling stuff to go out on YouTube?
Yeah, I definitely think so. It's just it compels me to shoot more in a good way, like it gives me a reason to step out the door and just to keep my skills sharp, Mm-hmm. If I didn't have a reason to, especially now during the pandemic where clients, are looking for a photographer or whatever, like it just gives me a reason to go outside and shoot and just to keep, because it actually being outside and shooting, I didn't do it. So, I didn't do it at all really when, at the height of the lockdown, but as lockdown eased and we were allowed to be outside, just being outside and shooting and then documenting that and creating videos around that. It just kept my mood up. Because that's sort of like the biggest thing I've learned about photography. Like the only way to improve is to take more photos.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's actually a mistake people make, is that they think that the way to get better at something is to kind of like you watch YouTube or you're on Instagram, and I think it's kind of similar to what a lot of writers do, or aspiring writers do, where they kind of claim that what they do day to day in their kind of procrastination time is actually like research, or it's like helping them build up an understanding, when actually quite often they're just sat watching TV, or they're just sat, not doing the thing that they're actually trying to get better at. And it's actually one of the really weird things about like photography is, oh, you want to get better at photography, like go and take some pictures.
I know. I mean, like focus books do help, of course, but then you fall victim to imitating and plagiarizing without even realizing.
Yes.
Because that's why, there are a lot of sort of Instagram photographers that I really look up to and like really, really admire the work of, but I try not to. I mean, I do it unintentionally, without even thinking. But but whenever I do find myself like, this doesn't look like my own photo, this looks like someone else's photo.
I mean, it's a downside, right, of immersing yourself in your favorite photographers. I used to have a rule with when I had portrait shoots, I would not look at the work of Agatha Serge or Emily Soto for like 2 or 3 days beforehand, because it would kind of remove that danger of me just like subconsciously inferring their idea into my photo. It's a real danger with the amount of photography that we're kind of surrounded with as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I know, and that's also like when people, I guess it's sort of a slightly different point. When people say, "Oh, I feel uninspired" or whatever, for me, that's the perfect time to go out and shoot, because when you are uninspired, you generally create crap photos, and when you create crap photos, and you can sort of look at why it's crap, you're suddenly then inspired to say, like, you can immediately see, like, how can I improve this? And then for me, that sort of kicks me into gear, and like say, okay, if I done this slightly different, if the lighting was slightly different, then that gets me inspired to keep shooting.
Yeah, I've always said that, like, self-hatred is a fantastic motivator.
Yeah.
Let me just ask you a quick question, because I'm fascinated by this when it comes to people that put themselves out as YouTubers. There are certainly people on YouTube, and it's not exclusive to photography by any stretch of the imagination, but there are people on YouTube that want to be seen as an authority on a particular subject. So there are people that want to be the authority on, guitar playing or on cooking or whatever, and they use a platform like YouTube to kind of be the final word on certain subjects. Is that something you have any interest in, or are you just looking to pass on what you do know? I
mean, for the main part, it is just to pass on what I know, and just to be. But yeah, of course, a part of me does want to be somewhat of an authority, but just to the extent that I can make sort of a career somewhat out of it on YouTube. Because I feel like if you're not something of an authority, then people aren't going to believe in what you have to say, or sort of like, say if I wanted to sell like a photo book, I think you kind of have to be somewhat of an authority. Not saying that you have to be the best. That's not what I'm saying. But yeah, I don't think, because it sounds. I mean, if you have to, I don't know. You kind of have to. Yeah, you kind of have to have some sort of authority if you want to. If you want to make yourself, if you want to start selling stuff on YouTube, if you want to make a career out of it, you have to be somewhat of an authority, right?
No, I absolutely completely agree. I think, like, for people to take you seriously, you have to show a certain degree of, like, self-confidence, and even if that's like in my case, with what I do for a job, I'm not someone that's ever going to be my biggest fan, but at the same time, you have to give that degree of confidence in a facade to your clients, in the sense that, like, I know I can produce what it is that they want now, but I want to be always producing better than what I am. So it's kind of like masking that self-hatred with just that degree of confidence is quite difficult. People want to see authority in anyone that they're asking to do something. When it comes to YouTube, who are your favorite YouTubers?
I really like, Kai Wong, yeah. I don't know. There's something. I just love his style. I think he's the closest thing to Top Gear for like photography.
Right. Yeah.
I think I really like Grainy Days. I love him. He's hilarious, and his work's really good. Who else? Oh, there's quite a few, but these just off the top of my head. I know there are a couple of small YouTubers who I actually really enjoy. I just can't think of at the moment.
And do you watch like I guess not non-photographic stuff, but you mentioned earlier like travel vlogs. Do you watch things like travel vlogs to kind of inspire you in terms of your photography?
So not so much, honestly. Mainly the two types of content I enjoy most are photography and sort of strength, sort of sports content. So I'm massively influenced by that's something that's kind of something I want to do. I want to try. That's something I want to do more of going forward. Sort of combine sports and photography, and sort of do more sports photography. That's something I really want to do, because there's a photographer friend of mine, and I love the way that he does his stuff. Is I kind of want to. Yeah, that's going forward. That's kind of more. Yeah.
Well, your insight, if you're interested in like the lifting side of things, I feel like it's always good to understand the subject that you're photographing, and you would have that inside knowledge, I guess. So it would be quite easy for you to kind of get it from both sides of the camera. You could understand what the point of what you were doing was.
Yeah, no, yeah, and that's something I was. I did a bit of before lockdown. I was shooting for like a couple of boutique gyms. but yeah, that's something I want to do more of actually.
Outside of YouTube, let's just talk in general. What's your most hated photo cliche that you see come up on like Instagram?
Oh god, I'm gonna get some backlash for this. I don't know what it is, but like it seems to be like younger sort of photographers who do this, but like really gimmicky. I'm sure you know what I'm thinking of, like really gimmicky sort of photography ideas, where it'd be like shooting through like kitchen utensils, shining lights, like shining a light through a colander. And
yes, do you know what? I'm going to jump in right there because you mentioned the colander, and that, right? So, a friend of mine who's actually been on the podcast before, she was telling me about so she's a model, and she was telling me about a photographer that she works with. He's very prominent on Instagram. He's got a lot of followers, so good for him. But she was explaining to me it really slowly about this photographer and how he used a colander to get the light. And I was just sat there and I was just like, please stop talking. I'm so sick of this gimmick, please.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It tends to be Sony shooters as well. I mean, I know it's
100%.
I know the last thing we want to do is sort of create photography tribalism, but it seems to be Sony shooters, and they all seem to be around 18 to 21 years old.
Yeah. Do you know what's really funny? So I switched to Sony about, I can't remember, beginning of the year at some point. Lockdown's got me to the point where I don't remember anything. And I'm in no way am I insulted by what you're saying. It's 100% true. I now feel like when I'm out shooting, so I use it for weddings and for my professional work. And I feel like when I'm out and I've got the Sony camera, I now feel like when a dad drives his car that his son has fitted like a spoiler to and put a load of stickers on. So I feel like I'm like that weird old guy that's driving around like an old Escort that's got like white rims. It's not good at all. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and the edit is always there's like that edit where you desaturate everything apart from like teal and orange tones, you know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And oh god. And like just like how many leading lines can we fit into one picture? Setting things on fire, and then like a random object on fire, and then taking a picture of that.
The absolute like most Sony cliche you can do is you take a picture of your camera in your hand, and there's got to be like a smoke bomb. You've got to have the mask from the purge.
Yes.
Yeah, it's utter bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, if it gets people, I feel like it appeals to. Maybe it's just because we're older. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe we're just a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to be too old for that side of things. If that's what being young is, I'm fine being closer to death. In terms of your own photography, what do you think your worst habit is?
Worst habit? Oh God. I probably, in terms of street, just because I've been doing mostly street photography at the moment, is I hate sort of regretting not taking a shot or not stepping like a step closer in than I would have. You know, I know basically not doing the things that I know will get me a better photo just because I'm a bit shy. You know,
right.
And that's a habit I'm working on because film's expensive. Each bad photo I take that I know is bad, even before I develop it, is it costs money, and if I can, it's just like I'm trying to reduce my my bad hit rate kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, you have the YouTube channel, like you said earlier, and part of that is to pass knowledge down to other people. If you were to go back and talk to yourself from the position you're in now, when you were just starting out with photography, let's say the second time when you started to kind of take it a little bit more seriously, what's the one piece of information that you would give yourself that would have sped up your progress?
Be more obsessive about taking photos and sort of look at creating bodies of work rather than, because I feel, because that's something I'm trying to, I've been procrastinating big time. But yeah, think about creating bodies of work rather than just individual. Because I think bodies of work are far more captivating, far more compelling than just individual photos.
Okay.
For the most part, and just be more obsessed about shooting. Shooting if you can help it. I mean, once a day sounds a lot, like every day, but at least once a week, twice a week. Just being more obsessive about it.
No, it sounds like a good thing to say. I think people underestimate the power of photo projects and stuff on actually kind of like focusing and restricting you. The most important part of the podcast is that people know where they can go to find your work. And obviously they need to be able to find your YouTube videos and so on. So this is your opportunity to plug yourself and all the places people can find you.
Yeah, sweet. So my YouTube channel is Zain Riza, ZAINRIZA. My Instagram is just Zain Shoots Film.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Kris.